Welcome to Pompously.
One may ask himself, what does it mean to be batshit crazy?
The political podcast that's just a little bit pompous.
Your apostolic had to go get on knees at the altar, which always sat really funny to me.
In this episode, we cover the news and other stuff.
It's just a little gentle ribbing, for your pleasure, if anything.
And now here's your host, Jimmy and Scott. Hello, and welcome to a very, very late edition of Pompously Political. As always, I am your co-host, Scott, joined by...
the other co-host, Jimmy.
You figured out how to bring you that audio, which, in the words of Bill O'Reilly, we're doing it live. So there were some issues with that. It was cutting out a little bit, which caught me a little off guard. But hey, it's first time.
That was my bad. I accidentally hit the mute button. I was trying to turn the volume up and hit the mute. Everything's touchscreen for me. I'm in the future, ladies and gentlemen. So as I was turning the volume up, I accidentally hit the mute, and so it cut it off. So I'll remember that for next time to have that ready to go. So.
Alrighty. Well, we live and we learn, and we get better at this podcast. Because we actually have a lot of exciting stuff coming to make this a bit more professional. Like here in a couple weeks, I'm going to have a green screen. So you don't have to look at my nasty kitchen anymore. Crazy, right?
There we go. I'll have to get on board on that as well. I have some green screen stuff ready to go. It's just I kind of like my sort of geeky theme background, though. I'm kind of moving my head so you can kind of see a little bit.
Well, yours isn't as bad, but I've got like dogs coming and going, and like Loki. I think he was eating over here in the middle of an episode last time. Like, just need to block all this stuff up. But this won't be here anyways because we're getting a new house. We got approved. We just got to do it's conditional approval. So there's some stuff we got to finish up with that and waiting on the appraisal to come back. So realistically, we should be done this week with it because we pretty much got everything done. I know the appraisal's been done, just waiting on the paperwork to come in. So
nice, yay! Congrats, man.
Thank you. It's been nerve-wracking, but it's definitely worth it. We're excited. It's a whole hell of a lot bigger than we got right now. But anyways, one of the other things we won't have to deal with, somebody went and screwed with the internet heads. The guy called them here, and I lost internet Tuesday and TV. So I didn't get to watch the debate on TV. I didn't get to come in here and do the podcast with you. We were going to cover that because I didn't have jack shit. I had to watch that thing on my phone, which was not fun. But
yeah, we were messaging each other pretty much the whole debate, and we were both having issues because I was watching it from CNN Go, and CNN Go was not expecting the amount of people to be watching or tuning in, and the bandwidth cut out really bad. So I was having issues, you were having issues, and ultimately we failed. We failed as far as live streaming. So.
Well, the thing that made me the most mad about the CNN Go was that whenever they did a commercial break, you had to do a commercial break. And this isn't like a commercial break like on Pandora where maybe you get 2 commercials. This was like 8 fucking commercials that you couldn't skip because then it started that commercial over. But if you paused it to try and come back, whenever you came back from the pause, you still had to finish the commercials. They just cut out what you saw of the debate. And you could catch up to it. It was the most frustrating thing. The most frustrating interface for video I've used in a long time. So not impressed with that.
Yeah. Not just that, but of course because you are behind in the debate because of CNN Go, what would happen is once you hit a certain threshold, they would just skip you automatically to the live feed. So you'd be watching behind because of the commercials and stuff, and then it would just jump magically to the future, and then you're like, God damn it, I missed like 15 minutes of the debate because of your questions anyways, or your commercials anyways, and now you're cutting ahead and I'm not able to see everything. So.
Well, I think at one point we were talking and you were like 6.5 minutes ahead of me because you said something about, it was when he mentioned Glass-Steagall, and you're like, oh, he brought it up. I'm like, he brought what up? I didn't hear it. And then like 6 minutes later, oh, that's what you were talking about. Okay. And then
when a couple George O'Malley for me. Yeah, when George O'Malley was talking about the Glass-Steagall Act, Which we'll get to that in a couple minutes with our
And then the week
handy
before
dandy.
that, you were
Go,
sick.
Chuck. Yeah, man. Kidneys, man. Kidney stones. That is the bane of my existence, sir. I've had them every year, pretty much since I was 17. Sometimes I get them like multiple times in a year, which sucks. It sucks so bad. I'm about, I'd say 85% healthy again. I think I still have some kidney stones, but I have medication. That's what medication is for. So yeah.
That's never fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I have gotten to the point where it's like clockwork. I don't even go to the doctor anymore when I get kidney stones because it's just going to be a medical bill that's outrageous for something that most of the time I can just drink water and pass it home. So as long as I got medicine to kind of tie me over, then I'm good. So yeah, I am alive! Yay!
Alrighty. And after going on 3 weeks of missing Pompously Political, we are back! So there's your explanation, ladies and gentlemen. We are sorry, but life happens.
Yeah.
One of these days, we'll be getting paid for this, and we'll make it a priority. But till then, it's just fun.
Hell yeah. Yeah. If you guys want to pay us, go for it. Yeah, just send the checks our way. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, thumbs up from Scott in Scotland. That's what we should refer. We should have at the bottom where our names are, which you don't have your banner, by the way. You're lacking on that this week. I had I had your name, and then now this week you don't even have yours.
I don't.
Ooh.
It doesn't even.
It's not giving you the option?
It didn't even bring up my saved one. Wow. Okay. Well, now I got to find this again because I don't know where I saved it.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, on our name tag we should have by your name Scotland, and then mine's Jimmy Land or something. So people know we're two separate locations. Bam! It doesn't have your name on it. Oh, mine doesn't have my name on it either. What is up with this? Wait,
I think I'm using the old one that you sent me. There we go. I didn't flip my screen. That's why I kept looking up at the camera and like this. I'm not normally looking off to this direction. That looks. What is going on? All right, there we go. Yay, technology! We are on point tonight.
Yeah, we've been gone for 3 weeks, so we got a little bit of fatigue in there. As you will.
Some of these cobwebs out.
Yeah, we haven't been exercising these political muscles. But yeah, man.
Political muscles, we've hit it a couple times. There was a debate while we were out, and it was great. Now, when we watched the 2 Republican debates before this, there was a lot of. Let's just say I watched the majority of those debates like this, in this position, just facepalm, because of the sheer stupidity. The one thing that really struck out to me in the Democratic debate was how intelligent everybody seemed. Like, everybody legitimately could stand on their own. They all have very valid points. Now, over time, you got to see some of the cracks in that facade, especially from 2 in particular. But I was generally impressed with everybody, at least for the first hour and a half. What did you think?
Oh, for sure. My impression exactly was that it was just there were if you were to contrast the 2 debates, you have the Republicans over here that were just everything was ad hominem attacks, not a whole lot of substance there, a whole lot of the brown people are bad, the other candidates on stage are bad, blah blah blah, build a wall, I'm Donald Trump, all that junk. And then on this side, there we go, I got my hand in frame there. On this side, you got the Democrats, and the Democrats were adults. There weren't any ad hominem attacks for the most part, and they spent their time talking about the issues. And that was what was great about it, is because you actually got to see what each candidate had to bring to the table as far as policy-wise, and then be able to contrast them.
You also got quite a bit of insight into the inner workings of each party. You got a bit of an explanation as to why we have had 17 candidates in one party and we only have 5 in another. Because, like you said, the Republican Party was just ad hominem attacks, especially with Rand Paul and Donald Trump going at each other, and then Marco Rubio going at others. There wasn't any of that. There was actually kind of like this brotherly, sisterly with Hillary love going on between them. Like Bernie and Webb, was it, kept talking about how good of friends they were, and we did this bill together, and it's a great piece of legislation that he did, but I'm gonna have to disagree with him on. It was like it was just it was a night and day difference between the parties.
You had you had Martin O'Malley, who in 2000, I believe it was 2000, was 2008, he supported Hillary Clinton for president. So you have people on stage that they have a mutual respect for each other. They may have some different ideas, and that really shone through on this debate. And I think that whoever gets the nomination, I think that they're going to ultimately support that person. So, Lincoln Chafee, 2016, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, since he mistakenly had that blunder of, well, my dad died, and it was my first day, so I voted on a bill and I didn't read it. That, he just killed. You'll never be president now. Good job. You're dead in the water. Yeah.
While we're on that topic, I'll go ahead and play the video, and then we'll kind of give our thoughts on it. Just simply because it was a great moment in the debate, and I hope that if you guys didn't watch it, here's that moment. So, share. And here we go. I got to turn the volume back on here. And
Governor Chafee, you've attacked Secretary Clinton for being too close to Wall Street banks. In 1999, you voted for the very bill that made banks bigger.
The Glass-Steagall was my very first vote. I just arrived. My dad had died in office. I was appointed to the office. It was my very first vote.
Are you saying you didn't know what you were voting for?
I just arrived at the Senate. I think we'd get some takeovers. That was one. It was my very first vote, and it was 92.5. It was the
with all due respect, let me just say, what does that say about you that you're casting a vote for something you weren't really sure about?
I think you're being a little rough. I just arrived at the United States Senate. I'd been mayor of my city. My dad had died. Had been appointed by the governor. It was the first vote, and it was 90-5 because it was a conference report. But let me just say about income inequality. We've had a lot of talk over the last few minutes, hours, so tens of.
Okay, so that's that. Let me get back to.
Did you pause that, or did that start cutting out?
No, I stopped it because that was the end of pretty much the discussion. So there you go. Pull that off. Aha!
To say, okay, maybe I misspoke, because I think the point he was trying to make was, with it being a 90-5 vote, what was his vote going to matter? It wasn't going to change anything. He just went with the overwhelming majority and, went about doing his job. I still don't know that that's a valid excuse. I think that's not what you're there for, even though he was appointed. Okay, hang on, because he also said he was appointed into the position, so there wasn't a vote for him?
Appointed to the Senate, I believe is what it was. I think he was. That's a good question. That's something we definitely need to look into as far as how he got into that position. I know that he's been a mayor, he's been a governor, and a senator. So he's done multiple jobs. So I don't know which one he was appointed. I'm pretty sure it was Senate that he was appointed to. That was where the Glass-Steagall Act was at. But anyways, I have a totally different vibe from that than you. Then what I think he was trying to say was that that the vote was overwhelmingly for the repeal, because it was for the repeal of the Glass-Steagall Act. The Glass-Steagall Act was originally in 1933, and it was in order to rein in Wall Street to keep the stock market from crashing like it did, and so forth. That was the original intent, and so this was the repeal of it, and I believe it took place in like 1999. But so there's an overwhelming majority that was in favor of the repeal. But so pretty much what I got out of it is that he showed up, he didn't read the bill, and he figured, okay, well, since all my colleagues are voting in favor of this, then it must be a good idea. So either way, whether it's he meant what you're saying or if he meant what I'm saying, the bottom line is he didn't read the bill. He didn't know enough about it, And that says volumes to your ability to govern and your ability to lead. Whether you think that the vote is a shoe-in and that your vote doesn't matter, you still need to read that stuff. Because what if it is bad? What if it is bad and then you're the only dissenting vote in that? That says something, that you're willing to go against the grain on issues like that.
Well, it's just like Bernie's being the one dissenting vote for the Patriot Act.
Oh, for sure. That was another part of the debate. I was kind of surprised that again he is for he says that as far as Edward Snowden broke the law, but that his role was essentially educating the people, and that should be taken into account when he was to be prosecuted. So whether that means a commuted sentence, so forth, I don't know. But yeah, that kind of surprised me in Bernie being the only one that voted against the Patriot Act.
Yeah. So there was also wife's walking in the door, and she's got pizza in her hands. Where's Hazel?
Oh, and your dog's ready to get it. See?
Oh, sorry.
That's the type of thing we're gonna miss when you get a green screen, man.
I know you're
it's
gonna
a
get
little family moments.
That, and I'll be in my cave, so I won't have to be interrupted. But oh, what else was I gonna say? Anyways, so Bernie being the one dissenting vote on the Patriot Act, but then there's also Jim Webb completely cracking under pressure. Now, granted, they were a little unfair. He didn't get nearly as much time as the other candidates got. But to sit there and cry about it and waste the time that you do get, crying about how you don't get enough time, is that how you're going to govern? Look, China, you're not giving me enough space here, China. I need you to acknowledge me, China. Please, China, please, please. Is that your governing strategy? Because that's what you showed on stage. You don't deserve to be president after that. If you can't control your emotions and get a level head and handle it like you're supposed to be handling it, done deal. You're out. Stop wasting everybody's time.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Before we get to, sorry, I was texting my wife. She just came in, so I was both of our wives came home simultaneously at the same time, so I was letting her know what was going on. But before we get too in depth into that, I would like to pull that chart up, so then that way, if you're able to pull it up, sir.
I am.
And that way, yeah, that way, because we've already talked about two of these issues, and basically what I wanted to do is kind of grade each candidate based off these issues. So yeah, so far we've talked about well, we have touched lightly on the Glass-Steagall Act, but so we'll have to go back into that. But then we got the issue of national security as far as the NSA, as far as the Patriot Act, and so forth. So, for your opinion, sir, we start off Jim Webb, right? Jim Webb being a ridiculous individual that didn't get any speaking time. Where do you think he rates on national security? Do you think he was on point, or do you think he was lacking in that?
I think he has a very well-rounded view of it due to his positions, but I don't know. I don't remember specifically what he was saying about it. I just remember that the impression I got was that he would be a little bit trigger-happy, a little bit too willing, a little bit too Republican, basically, in right. His stance on it, was my opinion.
That's what I got too. He seemed very warmongering, very, very aggressive, and which is the opposite of what we need in this sort of political or geopolitical environment. Coming off of two wars, we now know that one of those wars it's not gonna be done. We're keeping troops in Afghanistan, so sort of winding down of one war and keeping another. So yeah, so I'm in agreement. So should we put him as a frowny face on this one?
I think he's going to get the frowny face. I don't think he did very well on that. And I need to look at the right screen when I'm moving the mouse because...
You're backwards.
Yeah, and it's jumping around and everything. So are we doing... Is national security or...
Yeah. Jim Webb, Hillary. So. So
there we go. We'll
there we go. I think
All
the future
right.
issues will kind of go down the line, but so far we've talked about Jim Webb on this issue, and
Now, I guess I'll move up real quick. Bernie Sanders, I loved his position on it. He's not opposed to it, but it should be a last resort. Boots
for
on ground,
sure.
everything like that. Like what he said really summed it up. I think it needs to be the way forward when we're talking about the military and how we respond to things. I think he nailed it.
Oh yeah, definitely. He was the dissenting vote in the Iraq War vote. He was also the dissenting vote in, of course, we talked about the Patriot Act. He's a dissenting vote in almost every sort of. He was against the Vietnam War. In fact, he registered as conscientious. I have trouble with that. Conscientious objector, which that was brought up in the debate against warmongering Jim Webb, who had profound respect for Bernie Sanders for that position because he did it through legal channels. So yeah, definitely gets a smiley face on that. I think he would almost get 2 smiley faces because I agreed with his position more than everybody else's. So
Now, Hillary is a tough one because she has voted for. Her record is concerning when it comes to her willingness to engage and put boots on the ground, although her statements were contrary to her record.
well, the thing that made Hillary not as viable, or I didn't agree with her as much on it, is the issue about a no-fly zone. I think that George O'Malley is the one that made the point that the other individuals that are in the sky is Russia, and that it would cause a buildup, a military buildup in the region if we had a no-fly zone. And I am inclined to agree with that. And Hillary was talking about that being part of her solution. So again, no-fly zone.
I liked the explanation that it kind of, the no-fly zone shows kind of her ignorance when it comes to the military because it creates problems that she wasn't aware that it would create. And she didn't seem willing to listen when people told her, hey, this is going to create problems. This is not a good answer. So I'm going with frowny face on Hillary.
Right. For sure. I think we're on agreement with that. And again, there were more issues here, ladies and gentlemen, than just these issues right here that we'll discuss those in a minute. But these were kind of the main issues that we were hoping to get in the debate. So, yeah. So Martin O'Malley, like I already said, he contradicted. Man, I'm having a hard time with the English language today. He counteracted, opposed Hillary Clinton's no-fly zone sort of rhetoric, and again said that it would be a build-up. I think he kind of echoed the sentiment of Bernie Sanders that military intervention should be a last option, but it should not be an option that's kept off the table. So I think that he scored well on the smiley face arena here, or scale that we got going on here. And Lincoln Chafee, I don't even know what the hell that guy was on. What was his deal? That guy was like,
I don't even remember.
He was asleep at the wheel most of the debate. So I'm gonna give the guy.
Yeah.
Should we just keep him blank? Because I have no idea what that.
Yeah, let's just keep it blank for now. Because I could create a neutral face, but I don't want to do that right now.
Yeah, we don't got time for that. But yeah, so Lincoln Chafee, he's obviously he's obviously more of a pacifist. He said he would be the mediator. He would be the communicator, sort of negotiator. All those sort of E-ater words, which kind of leads me to believe that he's kind of, I don't know, he'd be kind of a pushover as a president.
Yeah, he gives me the impression of a lame duck, so to speak.
Right. Let's see here. What issue you want to tackle next, man? Because there are so many issues.
Let's do climate change. So, for those of you that I don't think any of our listeners would subscribe to this thought process, but who think climate change isn't exactly real, I present to you this story. Screen share. This is the it's a colonial era church. There is a drought in the Grijalva River in southern Mexico, basically. The drought is so bad that the reservoir there has dropped by 82 feet, and in turn has revealed a colonial era church that had long since been underwater.
Wow. It's a nice piece of architecture too. Like, holy cow.
It is, but just, I mean, think about that. 82 feet.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, look at the size of the building. That you don't need to think 82 feet. Just think the size of that building. You're not even in the doorway. So
I would be willing to say the vast majority of American towns don't even have a building that is 82 feet tall.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, that's massive. Anyways, so climate change is real, in case that was still up for debate. Now, the issues, obviously, Bernie, as always, completely nailed it with climate change. His points were completely on point, and I really didn't find anything to disagree with him. Didn't he say that was the biggest issue facing the country?
As far as national security, they asked what the biggest threat to national security would be. And I'm inclined to agree with him that climate change is the biggest, because it affects not just us, but it affects the whole planet. And oftentimes when you have people in desperate times, you get instability, and that instability resonates to, definitely into our. I mean, look at Syria. Syria was originally the reason why they're having the issues was because of drought. So it's a big issue, and I agree with Bernie on that.
And we are talking about, I mean, the ramifications of climate change with raising global water levels is entire cities being wiped off the map. So it is a very serious, very real change. Hillary, what do you think about her on that?
I think that a lot of the candidates echoed, with the exception of Jim Webb, and I'll get to that when we get to Jim Webb, but I think most of the candidates echoed what Bernie Sanders was saying. Not quite to the extent that Bernie was basically saying this is the issue, but I think that Hillary, she realizes that this is a huge hot-button candidate issue that needs to be addressed. And so because of that, and the whole discussion about her and President Obama barging in to the discussions with China, the secret meeting with China, I thought that was a nice touch that added some credibility to her there. Whether it's a true story or not, who knows? But it definitely adds to the urgency of the issue that she was willing to barge into a meeting like that. So she's smiley face all the way.
And again, like you said, the other candidates, the exception of Webb, kind of echoed that. So everybody did well on that. What are you thinking about Webb?
Jim Webb. Okay. All right. Jim Webb irritated me with this because he perpetuated the idea that all the progress we've made with China was illusory, that it was just thin veiled attempts at solving the problem, which I disagree with. I think that we've made tremendous strides with China as far as climate change. You can see it in their policy changing. You can see it within our own system, everything changing. So, yeah, I mean, he was basically went on a China rant. He did a lot of China rants. The guy does not like China, apparently. But yeah, he was basically saying, I think so, a little bit. He's our quieter Donald Trump. Donald Trump got more speaking time than everybody else in the Republican debate. Jim Webb didn't get hardly any. But again, that's his fault. Jim Webb didn't get talking time because you kind of have to force yourself into the discussion. He wasn't doing that. The other candidates were like, if I may. He wasn't doing that.
They were all butting in, and he was trying to butt in the same way, but after the subject was long dead. After you've had 4 people talk about it, because 2 of them talked about it twice, it's like, what are you adding at that point?
Well, for sure. And It was one of my favorite moments was he was like he butted in. If I may, I would like to redirect to this question, and he basically agreed with what everybody else was saying. So it was almost like if I can interrupt, I agree with everybody else. That was pretty much the equivalent of what was happening. I was
Thank
like,
you
come
for
on,
letting
kid.
me be here.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I think all the candidates. I mean, that's a pretty big Democratic issue. Even Jim Webb is pro solving the climate change issue. I just think he missed the message there. So.
You did. All right, so moving on. Let's go to healthcare.
Okay.
Now,
Cool.
where was healthcare in the debate? Because I watched the first 2 hours of it, had to go to bed for the last. I don't remember seeing anything about healthcare, so I really have nothing to add here.
There was a couple of moments about healthcare. The first of which, and it was peppered throughout all the other discussions. From Bernie Sanders mentioning the mental health crisis that we have in our country. He also mentioned a single-payer option, which would be more financially cost-effective than the system that we have right now. He mentioned other countries having better healthcare systems. That was kind of I can't pin down the exact moment when they were discussing it because again it was kind of peppered throughout the debate. But I think that Bernie Sanders out of all these people would get a smiley face. Everybody else, maybe. I think that they're pretty even on that.
So, smileys for everybody?
I say let's give a smiley face to Bernie Sanders and then nothing to anybody else because I think that he really stood out on that issue.
Okay.
Because I do believe he did mention a single-payer option, which I think is something that I certainly would get behind.
All right, well, moving on. Edumacation. Now, Bernie's isn't he the only one that's for free education? Free college education?
Martin O'Malley touched on fixing the college debt crisis, but he didn't get to the level of Bernie as far as a free. And this is the thing. A lot of people don't realize is Bernie Sanders is for a public option for free public option for education. So he wouldn't be doing away with tuition-based institutions. He would just be providing 2 to 4 year institutions that are free to the public. So you can go to these, or you can go to a paid institution. But yeah, so he's the only one that really addressed it in there, and I agree with him. I think that would fix a lot of our problems.
Alrighty.
Your dog's thirsty, man.
He is. And he's a big boy, so. You said O'Malley, right? Or was that Chafee?
Right. O'Malley, like I said, he did bring up the college debt, the tuition debt. So I think he gets a smiley face there. Man, I can't think of anybody else on the issue. So I think those are the only two that really did well with it. So.
I think I'd have to look it up. I want to say Hillary kind of countered that. Hillary was not in support of free education. I don't remember exactly.
Well, we can give her a frowny face on that. Then I don't remember that part of the debate, but that's certainly something we can look into. So for now, you get a frowny face.
I would be willing to change that if it came out to be anything different. But so there's 4 issues left that we can discuss. There's also one that I didn't, that I saw in here that they mentioned in the debate. It was a very specifically targeted question, and I think only Bernie gave a direct answer, and it was, do Black Lives Matter or do all lives matter?
Right. Yes. That was one of the issues that I didn't put, because again, this chart was created before the debate, and these were kind of the issues that we were anticipating being, or at least issues that would be in the forefront. We should have thought that Black Lives Matter would be a part of it, but so before, let's discuss that one real quick. Bernie's answer was pretty interesting. So you care to take the lead on that, and I'll kind of jump in, or
It
yeah.
Yeah, I just shoved my mouth full of pizza, but it's okay.
I have the chart up, so I didn't even see your face, and then I saw your face, and I was like, oh, my bad.
It's okay. First off, I'm not a supporter of Black Lives Matter. Simply because that has turned into a hate movement. Yeah, I mean, if you really look at what the leaders of that movement are saying and calling for pig's blood to run in the streets as a reference to murdering cops every chance they get, I can't support that movement at all. But Bernie's answer was, okay, yes, it is Black Lives Matter, but then he redirected it back to what you've been saying about basically that it comes down to income inequality, really, is what he kind of looped that back to, where you have a substantial portion of the population that doesn't have access to what the other portion of the population has, which, okay, I can agree with that, but I don't agree that it's Black Lives Matter. I still say it's all lives matter, because if what we really want is equality, it has to be everybody. You can't put one specific platform up like that.
Let me kind of frame it like this, and again, my thought process is a lot like Bernie Sanders. Again, you kind of mentioned it or alluded to it here. Again, it is an income quality issue or inequality issue. It's also an incarceration issue. I think it's something like 1 in 3 blacks will see jail time in their life. And the issue, the reason why Black Lives Matter, in this context. Again, I'm applying a different context than the movement itself. I think the movement itself taints it. We've discussed how it's a lot of the stuff they're doing is counterproductive to the overall discussion and message that needs to be put out there. But essentially, Black Lives Matter, in the sense that when you say Black Lives Matter, it's not saying that all lives don't matter or that Black lives matter more than any other life. What it's saying is that they're being excluded from this particular sort of thought process. That they're being excluded from this particular equation. That they now have to inject themselves into it and say, "Hey, we matter." You get what I'm saying? So I don't think that the initial message of Black Lives Matter is saying that nobody else, or that Black Lives Matter more than anybody else, but essentially that Black lives matter like everybody else. You get what I'm saying there? And I think that's what Bernie was attempting there, and I think he did a better job than me certainly explaining.
I get it. I just think it's a poor way to approach it.
Right.
No, we could have that debate for days. So, anyways,
right.
That's not on there. Let's move on. Well, that actually kind of touches into income inequality. So I guess we would both agree Bernie got a resounding smiley face on that. We might even give him 2.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Because he not only did he talk about the income inequality as far as minorities and minority communities, but he also touched on the fact that the distribution of wealth, the stratification, the social stratification that's taking place in America is largely due to the way that we run our system. He attempted to explain what democratic socialism is. He attempted to do that in the opening, which I think he could have done better explaining it. But
yeah, definitely could.
Ultimately, he hit all the issues that I feel passionate about. I know we've talked about this to great length. Income inequality is a big issue, and so yeah, totally 2 smiley faces for him. I think Hillary kind of tried to echo and come off of that, but that moment when Bernie Sanders looked at her and basically said, in a Hillary administration, it wouldn't be the government's reigning in the banks, it would be the banks reigning in the government.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that she gets, I wish we could do a half smiley face. She would get a half smiley face, so yeah, frowny, I guess we could put frowny there. But yeah, she has a history of working with banks.
Yeah, I'm not impressed with her when it comes to this issue. So
there we go, bam! Look at that innovation right there.
Indeed.
Jim Webb, not memorable. I don't remember anything he said about income inequality. Martin O'Malley, I think he was on message. I think he was on message with it. I think he gets a smiley face. Whether his record in Maryland is a testament to that, because obviously we have the Baltimore stuff with Who's the one who got? We've had so many instances that can hardly. Who's the one that got killed in
Freddie Gray.
freaking Maryland, Baltimore? Freddie Gray. Yeah. So the Freddie Gray situation happened in Maryland, and the income inequality that's there and stuff. So I think that he has the right idea. Whether or not it's applicable, I don't know. What do you think of Lincoln Chafee?
Not much.
Okay.
I think he tried to, if I remember correctly, he tried to answer that question by not answering that question. He gave the very political runaround of, well, lives matter, kind of. I didn't like his response at all.
Yeah. So let's give Chafee a frowny face. Chafee doesn't get a whole lot of smiley faces in this. He gets a lot of non-faces and a lot of frowny faces. Just because, and it's not that he doesn't agree with a lot of the people that have smiley faces on here, it's just that he did not do a good job explaining his position on anything. I left that debate knowing less about Lincoln Chafee's position than ever before. So, oh, also, yes, we could talk about the Glass-Steagall again with the he voted for the repeal of the Glass-Steagall Act. That gives him a frowny face there. So, nice. Women's health. I think most everybody was on message for women's health. I think that Hillary came right out of the gate with a paid maternity leave. So I think that she definitely gets a smiley face there. Obviously, she's a woman, and she's trying to appeal to the women's vote, and that's the best way to do it. Let's talk about women's health issues. She also brought up the Planned Parenthood Oversight Committee. I'm pretty sure she's the only one that did bring that up. Smiley faces. I think everybody's on message with that. Smiley faces all around. Congratulations. So.
Hey, well, it's better than the Republicans. I mean, at least we have one issue where everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
Money
we should do an
politics.
episode.
Bernie's getting 2 on this.
Yeah, Bernie's definitely getting 2. And again, that kind of ties into the income inequality, but I definitely thought it was important that we split the 2 issues here. Money in politics. I think Hillary gets a mixed face. And that's because her record and what she was saying tends to contradict each other. Jim Webb, on the other hand, Jim Webb gets a frowny face, in my opinion. He basically took the issue of it being money in politics and making it less of an issue than it needed to be. I think it's a bigger issue. Everybody else, again, Burns too, because he's the only one that does not. He's not receiving funds from a super PAC. He does not have a super PAC. He's getting normal, ordinary people type donors, which again puts a limit. I heard Bill Maher. He was on Bill Maher. I think the night after the debate. Did you watch that one, man?
No, I didn't see that.
Bernie Sanders was on in an interview, and it was funny because Bill Maher said, because they brought up him not having a super PAC, and then Bill Maher said, well, it puts me at a disadvantage because I want to give money to your campaign, but it makes it to where I can only give about $5,200. He's like, so I guess I'm off the hook this year, because he was wanting to give like $1 million to Elizabeth Warren. So, yeah, I thought that was funny.
Now I'm putting frowny faces on the others for one specific reason. I don't know what their stances are. So if they did talk about it, it didn't make enough of an impression to stick. But these people are nobodies. In order for them to have a chance at running, they have to inherently support the system and receive the money. I mean, it's for them to have.
Let me
stand on any
offer.
type of legs.
Yeah. Let me offer one change to that, and that would be Martin O'Malley, because he did discuss the Glass-Steagall Act to a great extent.
Yeah, but Glass-Steagall doesn't
about that.
affect politics. Glass-Steagall is about regulating banks, not about having money in politics.
But at the same time, he also mentioned having an expanded, modernized version of Glass-Steagall that would incorporate this sort of stuff in there. So that's kind of what he was hinting at. That's kind of why maybe we can give him a double face like Hillary there, because yeah,
Okay.
I think
We'll give him a half.
I think that he was attempting to apply Glass-Steagall to money in politics in some sort of fashion. And again, Lincoln Chafee, where the hell were you, man? Again, you did not do hardly anything as far as explaining what your platform is.
Yeah. All right.
You and
so
Jim Webb both.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here, since we're moving into Syria, ISIS. Hillary, no idea what she's doing. We talked about the no-fly zone. She is not have a good answer on that. But I'm also gonna say that while Bernie's approach to the future is good, his approach to Syria now is not. I don't think he has an answer. I don't think he has an approach. War is not his strong point. So how to deal with Syria and ISIS, I don't know. Do you have anything to counter that?
The only thing that I would say to counter that is that he trying to convey this, and I think he did it very poorly. In reference to it was a little bit of a back and forth between him and Hillary when she mentioned the no-fly zone before Martin O'Malley came in which that he said that the quagmire that we have in the Middle East, especially in Syria, and in you have different factions fighting different factions. You have rebels fighting Assad, then you have rebels fighting ISIS, and so it's all this conglomeration of just clusterfuck. So that right there makes me feel like that the situation is extremely complex. And what he proposed was to have a coalition to where the United States is not leading from the front, but assisting in other realms, whether it be financial support and so forth. But he would not support boots on ground. So I think that his overall take on it is we need to get these other countries involved, which I'm inclined to agree. I don't think that he did a good job conveying that message, though. So if anything, I would give him a half smiley face. But that's kind of my take on it.
This is Webb, right?
No, that was Sanders.
Okay.
Jim Webb, on the other hand, gets a frowny face. And I'll explain why. He went on about China. He completely missed the whole issue about what was going on in Syria and ISIS. He started talking about how China doesn't own the South Sea and blah, 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 blah. He didn't offer much. He didn't offer much there. I think he just wants to go to war with China. I think that's Jim Webb is a one candidate or one issue candidate, and that's his issue is let's go to war with China. I think that's what he was going. Martin O'Malley kind of echoed the sentiment of Bernie Sanders, but with the pragmatism of Hillary. He did say the no-fly zone was a bad idea, but he also said that a coalition would be needed, and that, like all presidents, war should not be a first option, but it should definitely be an option. So I think he scored well on that. And Lincoln Chafee, he total pacifist. He doesn't want to go to war in any capacity. He doesn't want to be involved in it. I don't think he's thinking of the long game, like he said.
Yeah. Well, there we have it. Now this does echo. I'm just noticing as we're filling it out. Obviously, Bernie gets the higher marks because we are really we're on the Bernie bandwagon. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, so maybe this is a bit biased, but coming out of the debate, some of the comments I was making to you were, I'm really impressed with Martin O'Malley. I really hope he gets a bit more of the spotlight because he's got some good things to say. Like, no idea who he was going into it, but he knocked that out of the park.
I mean, look at the amount of smiley faces he got. If you, again, I think we should take this and screenshot it so that we can post it on the Facebook so people can look at this picture, just so they can see what our thought process here. But if I was to decide, I would say that Bernie Sanders and Martin O'Malley did a much better job than Hillary Clinton in the debates. Martin O'Malley looked presidential. He acted presidential. He was on message with a lot of his topics, a lot of his issues. Again, with healthcare, he wasn't as clear or didn't speak of it at all. And then, of course, money in politics, that's debatable. But, again, he did a really good job. I think it was after you texted me. I was already thinking it, or I was the bits that I got to see at that point, because again I was having CNN Go issues. Thank you, CNN. I was having issues with it, but the parts I did get to see online, he was doing a great job, and so I already had that kind of pre-primed in my brain. So when he said it, I was like, yes, we'll have a good discussion about Martin O'Malley. So, yeah, what do you think, man? Who do you think took the night?
Obviously, Bernie. I mean, Hillary was much more refined. She was much more aggressive. But even when it was Hillary's chance to shine, Bernie still took it. Look at the email thing. You know, she gave her response and yada yada yada, and then Bernie's right there. Well, I think the country's tired of hearing about your damn emails. And immediately Bernie has the spotlight. I mean, I think in every regard, obviously, like I said, Martin O'Malley really impressed me when he came through. Jim Webb and Lincoln Chafee ended their runs right there. They do not pass go. But I think Bernie won it. Now, the most surprising point out of all of this, the only person who has really, I guess, let me pull this up. Let me just double check. Because this debate was on the 13th that happened?
I believe
Because Tuesday was the 13th.
Yeah.
All right. Hillary has gone up 0.5 points in that time. Biden has gone up a point and a half, almost 2. And he wasn't even there.
Biden?
God. And Bernie has dropped. Why? He's dropped about a point and a half.
I think that Bernie might lose a little bit of momentum just simply because he basically had his smoking gun against Hillary. The thing that he had that he was doing better at Hillary is Hillary was bogged down in scandal, right, with the email thing, and then by him basically endorsing the fact that this email thing is a non-issue. Again, he said it's not a smart political move, but he did what was right, and I think I think ultimately it'll work out in his favor. But yeah, and then of course the topic of him being a democratic socialist, I think that kind of hurts him a little bit. But I don't know. I'm willing to vote for a democratic socialist. So.
Well, there was a debate a couple nights after that where Family Guy creator Seth MacFarlane.
Yeah.
Where he's saying,
Seth
you know,
MacFarlane.
with everything that's happened in the country, I think democratic socialism is the least of our concerns, or something to that effect, or you know, maybe we could use a little democratic socialism at this point, because of just how everything has turned out up to this point.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that what we're seeing here is we're tapping into that because we're starting to realize that we're falling behind economically to the rest of the world because of some of the policies that we have. And the laissez-faire capitalism, this free market, non-regulated capitalism, we can totally argue on that point, is to an extent damaging our economy as opposed to helping it. And I think that social programs and a more socialist type mindset would do us a great benefit. Whether or not the American people as a whole agree with that, I hope they do.
So I guess kind of last points on this. When this started, when the first date on this poll that I'm looking at is April 19th, 2015. But as of April 21st, there was a 51-point lead for Hillary. She is now down to a 20-point lead, 20.3. So it's definitely heating up. Bernie's catching up to her. Biden's also right up there. Whether or not he does it is another story. On the Republican side of it is a different story, because we've talked about this whole time about how Trump is just stomping everybody, and we're waiting on him to turn around. The day that actually happened, let me pull it up, September 17th, because that was the last, September 19th, that was the last day that Trump polled at 30.5% of the vote. He is now down to 23.8%, and only has a 2.5-point lead. Sadly, That is a 2.5-point lead on Dr. Batshit fucking crazy needs to leave the country Ben Carson.
Yeah, that
Who
guy.
is skyrocketing right now. He's up to 21.3, which I don't know if it's the appeal that he's a doctor, or it's just the Republican crazy mindset that he can spew the religious dogma that they all want to hear, and it's coming from a doctor, so it must be true.
I actually
don't know, but
I actually had a discussion with my mother-in-law a little bit about this, in the sense that she was like, I like Ben Carson. He seems like a real person. Which I immediately was kind of like taken aback. Like, really? Really? Because I think he looks not like a real person, but a comatose patient. He's very, very slow, meandering in his behavior, his demeanor, and so forth. Did you see the whole Popeyes thing? Did you catch that?
no.
Okay, let me explain this. Okay, I'm sure you heard the thing about Bernie. I'm still on Bernie's. Bernie Sanders will forever be in my brain. He's like, I don't know if you saw the SNL thing about mango. Bernie is my mango. I'm just like, Bernie. But Ben Carson. Ben Carson said that with the tragedy that happened, the shooting up in Washington State, that everybody should just rush the gunman because he can't kill us all, right? That's what he said, which is horrible to say. First of all, that basically, oh well, it's the victim's fault because they didn't rush the gunman. Yeah, it's terrible. Well, then it came out. Somebody was asking him about asking about this, and they're like, well, have you ever had a gun on you before? And he was like, yes, at a Popeyes organization. He didn't call it a Popeyes restaurant. He called it a Popeyes organization. Somebody put a gun in his ribs, and he said, I believe you want the guy behind the counter. Think about that for a minute. He basically said, don't shoot me, shoot the motherfucker behind the counter. That was his whole plan.
There are... Ooh, she got me dessert, too. Oh, love my wife.
Jealous.
So, you've got to understand when people are saying that there is legitimacy to that defense mechanism. We're not going to go into all the details now, but saying to rush the shooter, that is not necessarily a bad thing. Because the likelihood that what's probably going to happen is a couple people get shot. Very likely. It's almost guaranteed. But realistically, they're not going to be well-aimed shots when you have 30 people running in your face. So there's the chance that they're going to be less lethal shots. But you also have to weigh that against the other option, which is sitting there and letting them slaughter you. So don't be so quick to dismiss that theory as, and I've seen a lot of people do it, not just you, as just absolute madness and craziness. There is some legitimacy there.
Whether there's legitimacy or not, the bottom line is that guy should have had a gun in the first place. That's the solution. Not, hey, let's just tell everybody to rush the gunman. I mean, I get the merit behind it. I don't know. I think it's a bad idea.
At this point, we need to understand this shit's going to happen.
And how many people? How many people were killed in the Washington State?
I don't even know. I think it was like 10.
Yeah, like 10 people. Okay, so you have everybody rush the gunman. All right. The potential of you having 10 people get killed there is still there. 10 people could get killed by that guy. He could luck of the draw, have some really good shots. There could have been another gunman. You don't know that. The thing about it is you don't know the scenario that's taking place. You don't know if there's multiple gunmen. What if there's explosives on the premise? There's all these things that you have to take into account that just simply bum rushing the guy, yeah, you may stop that one guy, but then there could be 2 other people that are going there. You never know.
Yeah, but how many shootings are there 2 guys? Really? How many times is that?
Columbine comes to my head immediately.
Okay.
Recently, we've had shootings where it's been perpetrated by one person.
You had the one where they did the stand-up in Walmart, and the guy that actually approached him with the gun, it was the man and woman. The woman killed him to protect the guy, and then they killed each other. You had that one. You had Columbine. I can think of 2 or 3 other school ones off the top of my head, but by and large, they're not that type of situation. And like I said, this is not a debate we need to get into because this is in depth, and we could talk about this
for sure.
today. But I'm not. I think it would be a very bad idea to tell people to just sit there and hope that the police get there in time to save you. Don't do anything to protect yourself. Just that's like if you're on a plane that gets hijacked or something. You know, the instructions are, well, just sit there and wait. You know, don't try to do anything. If that motherfucker's gonna shoot me, you goddamn better believe I'm gonna fucking do something. I'm not going quietly. So. I mean,
there's also, I mean, like, was it the flight, you know, I don't mean to stand this issue too much longer, but was it the flight that was supposed to be going to Pennsylvania the one that went down before it reached its target? Because they did rush them. The difference there was they weren't carrying guns. They weren't carrying guns. They were carrying, like, box cutters. Like, you basically had the equipment of a Walmart staff that took over a plane.
The other side to that coin is that when you are rushing a gunman, it's typically because you get the drop on them. Like some of the drills and the videos they're showing in the schools, it's when he comes in the door, like you're on the other side of the door and go like, surprise! If it was party on there, like, surprise, I'm gonna beat your ass and get you to the ground. In that it does actually makes sense. Anyways,
right.
We're gonna get fired up.
So you're pro John McClane. You're pro John McClane. I am anti John McClane on this issue. So there we go.
Yeah, that's what we'll have to discuss later.
We should have set on that. But yeah, man, I think we talked to death this debate.
We didn't even get the news.
We
missed 3 weeks worth of news. I tried to pull in the news, but anyways.
It's Jimmy's fault. That's what it is. It's my fault. I keep wanting to talk about this damn debate. Enough with the damn debates.
But one last thing on the debate.
So,
the debate scorecard will be posted on the website probably tomorrow because I don't have time to do it tonight. But yeah, be sure to check that out. Let us know what you think. Drop some comments. Did we miss something? Did we totally forget how somebody said something in the debate? Likely, very likely. Please correct us. Let us know because I don't have time to watch the debate again. So join in the conversation. Let us know.
Yeah, I think there was legalization of marijuana, but yeah. That was about it. But yeah, man, check out the website. Again, life's been crazy for the last 3 weeks, but I'm definitely going to be starting to get more stuff up on the website. I definitely wanted to put I've had some discussions lately about income inequality and so forth that I kind of want to put up there, and yeah. So check out the website at www.polypompous.com and tweet us at Polypompous. Those are always good things.
Indeed.
And with that,
take care.
Yeah.
Keep thinking.
Have yourself a merry October. Cold week, I guess. Here, it's cold. So.
Don't be cold.